Hi guys, hello and welcome. It's Friday the 18th of June. I've just had another technical glitch, which I had my software crash, but it is what it is. When I do these, so my name is Steve Pugh, I do a live stream every Friday morning at 9 a.m. And what I like to do is recap the week, talk about some interesting concepts. People send me in questions to talk about and things that they want to kind of find out more about. And actually just something that I think would be really interesting is just to go through a whole range of kind of business topics on different things that hopefully you might find interesting. I'd love to know in the chat where you're from, where you're based, what you do, and then please, feel free to drop in a quick comment about, what you do and how you work as well. Because actually, I never judge people, and don't hold it against you if you want to plug your business or product or service. We're kind of all in this game together, so actually, it's really useful just to get some feedback and see who's on the call. There we go. Just checking one thing. There we go. It's funny when you start to do these things, you realize all the things that both can go wrong, but actually just, the process of doing it. When I work with people in all different kind of walks of life and different things, it's almost where people often pretend to be perfect and they pretend that everything is really easy to do when actually, things do go wrong and that kind of thing. So starting a stream 2 minutes late and restarting it is not the, biggest thing in the world. But yeah, please comment in the chat where you're from. I'd love to know. It'd be great to kind of connect. This week for myself, I always like to give a quick overview and recap on just stuff I've been up to, just because it helps share kind of my journey, but also I like the authenticity of just kind of being honest about things that I've done this week. My interview on Monday was a chap in Nigeria called Adajoro, who has a really fantastic business, but also a really good backstory on things that he's done in the past. When he launched an NGO, he's got a tech startup, which is all to do with an online shopping platform for emerging economies, which I'm involved in. I'm on the board of advisors to help them kind of take that forward. But really interesting interview, and almost from the point where he talks about escaping war as a child through to then moving to a big city, going on to actually inspire and lead a lot of young people in schools and inspire them and teach them about business and entrepreneurship is really kind of interesting too. And yeah, just really kind of top guy. I had a blockchain event last night, which was really interesting. That was something called a Startup Grind X event, which is basically, it's a bit like TEDx, but to do with startups. And that was by a guy called Tam from Accenture. And what we were doing is we had speakers from the speakers from Egypt, there was a guy called Mohammed, and we talked about blockchain and what it is and what it means and for different governments and different things. And actually I gave a quick few minutes on business strategy, and I kind of decided to leave this up just to kind of walk you through some of the stuff we spoke about. Hi Simon, as always. And one of the things that I was talking about is almost the three things that a lot of startups and founders get wrong. The first one, and I know I cover this all the time, but they always say you should repeat what you do. Most businesses, this is where they are today. And they always say, well, actually, if you want to grow marketing and sales, what do you do? Well, actually, so you want to promote more and sell more and do your promotion, and that's how you'll grow the company, grow revenue. But the one thing that very few people actually do is look backwards, go back and check that their strategy is fundamentally either as good as it could be, or that they haven't really properly defined their competitive marketplace, and lots of different things that we cover within the Roadmap MBA. And it's just a lot of people don't even think about this. They just assume that their first attempt or whatever it is that they're doing today is as good as it can be, when actually there's a lot of extra added value and things that you can add in to really kind of help you get to that next level. The next actually was to do with the mountain of business that we all try and climb. That essentially when you get to the top and you're the CEO, or even on your kind of progression, we all have what I've mapped out to be 8 different types of skills, from your technical background, your ability to communicate, branding, sales, strategy, marketing, management, technical knowledge, etc., and financial kind of acumen. And basically, as you get higher through your career, you actually get pretty good scores on all of those, because you learn a lot of new things to kind of help you develop and they help you be successful in business. But actually, for a lot of founders, when they then bring people in their business from the bottom up, where do you teach those people those skills? And actually, that is a very difficult one to answer. That actually, you have a lot of people in their business or career that if you want to create high performing teams, to kind of, you kind of need to teach the people those skills, and it's very difficult to do. So obviously, as I plug every week, as I have the right to, so I have the Roadmap MBA, which is a 216-page business course, which, yes, it's the kind of core materials, but actually it's the 12 months worth of support. It's the weekly classroom sessions. It's the and actually it's that ability to ask questions about, how do I do things? How do I move forward? That actually you can help upskill your team to basically create higher performing teams, which is, I think, is really important. And then the last one as well is just execution. A lot of founders and startups and business owners and people, they think it's a good idea to do something, but then they kind of start to second guess it, and then they stop doing it and they don't execute. So part of the reason why, I think it was a good chap called David Winter commented that I'm very consistent with doing these at 9 o'clock every Friday and my interviews every Monday, and my classroom sessions every Tuesday. But it's, for me, the consistency is important, and that's a big part of what I try and do, is just executing against my plan that I know for where I want to take the roadmap over the next kind of 10 years. Just that continued awareness on stuff is kind of quite important, so I really kind of try and do that. But that was last night. On Wednesday, I had a really good chat with some investors in the USA that were looking at a market that wanted to pick my brains on that. And I love working with different people, because often you second guess how much you actually know or your knowledge on different topics. But when people ask you about it and you can really, talk chapter and verse on different things, it can make a real kind of difference. So I had a really good chat with some investors in America, and even just yesterday there was a client in South Korea that I work with as well, and I just love the international nature of what I'm doing. Just before this call, there was a chap in Ukraine that I was also speaking to, and for me, I love this. I love the ability to connect communities and work with different people, and I just think it's really kind of cool, and I love it. So please kind of drop in the chat where you're from, and I'd love to kind of just connect as well. Please send me an invite. One of the things that I always like to talk about as well is just stuff that is not so much best practice, but I find kind of works. So actually on last weekend, I put up a social media post that probably took me a minute to write. And it was about this book that I'm working through. So it's called Resonate, and it's by an author called Nancy Duarte. And basically I was 39 pages in, and actually it's excellent. It's really, really good. And what it is all about is actually helping to teach storytelling, but actually in a way that you can apply to business and your slides, if you do a slide deck and different things. Basically my social post was probably one line that said, I'm only 39 pages into this book, but it's 10 out of 10. It's really excellent. Resonate by Nancy Duarte, and I tagged her in it. And basically she liked the post. And then since then, I think it's currently on 120-ish likes, but people all around the world have now seen this social media post and it was trying to add value back. But often people forget the impact and stuff that you can actually have with stuff, when you actually kind of put it out there. And I remember years ago, it was a guy called Dalio, that's one of the world's richest men. I commented on his book, and it was called Principles, about how good that was. And he liked it, and it just rocketed, in terms of content. But it was just the kind of thing that I think people often, including myself, almost forget or don't realize how valuable it can be to do these kind of things and put the posts out and tag the author. And, obviously if it's crap, don't do that. But it was just really interesting. That happened to me this week, and that post is still kind of rumbling on. The classroom sessions on our Tuesdays, I'm just going to press one thing. Boop. Have really kind of been going well, which is great. We've now got a really good kind of core audience. So every Tuesday at 3 p.m, we work our way through the course. I think we're about to do the second module 6. So there's 14 modules on the course. You can pick and choose whatever you join or not join or whatever, that's cool. But I also repeat each session twice. With the idea being that actually, if you're busy one week, you can just join the next week and that kind of thing. But the whole point of the roadmap is that you can pick it up or put it down for 2 minutes or 2 hours, and it kind of works around your lifestyle. But we've got a really good kind of audience and crowd that are just involved in the course now, and we're starting to learn together, which is cool. And that in essence also helps me just make it better and stuff as well. And then last but not least, before I jump into the content, because what are we on? 9:10 at the moment. My interview for Monday is a female entrepreneur called Katherine Patterson, really lovely lady that I feel I know kind of quite well. She has a very innovative product called a Care Cot, which is all about saving children's lives. She recently won a really prestigious award with Innovate UK about female entrepreneurs. She's also based in the Northeast, and what I'm going to do is the same as normal. Pick her brains and ask her opinions on different stuff and basically share her story. But actually, as an entrepreneur that has kind of been through it and had some challenges and that kind of thing, I think it could be really interesting as well. So no coffee today. I did go for a McDonald's breakfast this morning, but I'm just going to stick to the water now. I'm trying to get a bit healthier with what I'm doing. But you know, that's me, that's part of what I'm doing. But please get involved in the chat, just drop in a hello, it always helps. It pops up on my screen, and actually it should pop up about here as well, just to kind of get involved and kind of, you know, talk about the live stream. So the things that I said that I would cover today, first one is actually why I believe it's important to live your values. And this is really interesting, and I'll just jump straight into this one, is that most companies and organizations have values that they say that they promote. You know, I've worked places in the past that had like 8 or 10, which for me is too many. But the classic thing is that if you tell the world that we are passionate about something, whatever that thing is, do you actually live it in person? And would your staff and your team that work within your business almost agree in what those are? Because actually a lot of businesses promise the world and they say that they're great at certain things, but then they don't deliver. And there's loads of classic examples to do with Wall Street and when people have promised the world and then actually not done it. And something that someone kind of flagged to me, and it was an innocent question, but for me, the Roadmap MBA is all about making business education accessible to help people teach real world business skills to people around the world, no matter if they can, you know, afford it or not, or, you know, just a diversity in terms of some people like to read or watch videos, whichever, but really kind of make the content as simple and as accessible as I can. And someone asked me about my interviews, and almost without intention, I had been interviewing a lot more men than, you know, I planned to, if that makes sense. So I'm really trying to diversify the audience of people in terms of the interview and the people I interact with, because actually, you know, that kind of inclusion is important to me and it is a value. So one way that I can demonstrate that and live that is actually through interviewing and the kind of, you know, practicing what I preach. And it was a real world example to kind of talk about just different things that I thought might have been interesting. Okay, so the next 2 points, which I'm going to go on to, why is it important to not offer too many products within your business? And this has 2 angles. One is both on the sales angle to actually kind of convert people as customers. And the second is actually to do with inventory holding stock. So I'm going to draw that one out. I'm going to turn this page over in a second. And the next one is one that actually I meant to do a few weeks back, but then we got sidetracked on something else and I kind of forgot. And this is all to do with how not to do a terrible online sales pitch if you get the opportunity to present on a Zoom meeting or webinar or whichever. And this was inspired by a real case study where basically I was sat in the audience of one where this chap had like 15 minutes to talk about his business and stuff. And it was atrocious. It was, you were sat there and it was painful. And it was just some easy kind of lessons to learn and things to talk about. But please get involved in the comments. I'd love to know where you're from. Yeah, don't be afraid to plug your business or just say hello. Often it is strange when you do these things. And I'm sat in my studio in Gateshead in the northeast of England. But again, we've had people join from India and Dubai and all around the world as well. So please kind of feel free to drop me a message. Okay, so I'm just going to get a quick drink of water. Okay. So first, I'm going to touch on why do you not want to offer and sell too many products? And this is applying in this instance to SMEs, not to an Amazon that can handle it. So this is to a normal traditional business, because that's what everything I do is kind of aimed at, is that kind of level. So why not to offer too many products? So there's multiple angles to this, and this is almost why it's quite interesting. There's been lots of studies over the years about actually how if you have a storefront, I think it was actually to do with Jam is the famous kind of case study, where basically it's when you can actually offer too much that your consumers get confused. And a classic example is that you always want to make your buying process as easy as possible. And something we've spoke previously about on the live stream is about having a hero product. So for Tesla, obviously they have the Model S. For Porsche, they have the 911. Apple have the iPhone. But the idea is that if you have a hero product, you almost have one product within the business that you lead with, and then all the rest kind of fall off that. But the kind of decision making in terms of what you offer in a way to bring people into the brand is relatively simple. As actually, if you are like a Screwfix or someone that's a distributor that sells a ton of different stuff, it could be a B&Q, even it could be like a Tesco, they obviously have to promote on different things. So I'm focusing more on on simple kind of products. And the two examples I'm going to give are, I'm going to do like a food store, so somewhere that you would go for lunch when you're at work, and or a florist, because actually they both have similar challenges. So the first one is to do with actually when you present too much stock and actually why you do that. So I'm going to quickly draw this out. Two examples. So number one, you have a table. And you have three fabulous products so that if someone comes up as a market stall and they want to see what you've got to offer, it's nice and simple. Option two is the same stall, but just tons. I mean, like 30, 40 different things. And the issue you've got, and you see this often at jumble sales and car boot sales, or even just a lot of market stalls, that if there's too many products on a table, or you walk into a store and there's just so much selection, you can almost be blinded by having too much choice. And there's loads of actually academic studies about what's the peak point on what you offer to give people choice, as opposed to giving people too much choice and they don't actually buy anything because they get confused. Because the easiest option for the buyer is to actually walk in and say, oh, I'm not sure I'm going to come back. And that's because you swamped them with too much stuff. So you always want to keep your message nice and simple. But in terms of the thing that I really wanted to talk about, which is inventory, yep, green. As any kind of small business, one of the things that you always really want to kind of keep an eye on is your cash. And actually just your ability to hold stock. And I was thinking about this morning for myself for my next batch print run of the roadmap kind of courses. But most businesses have, I'm going to switch back to blue. So I'm going to have revenue and sales and then product type. But you will have your best sellers, and then it will go down, and then you'll have loads at the end. So one of the issues that you have if you are, say, a sandwich shop, is that your probably core convenience in what you offer is convenience. So the ability for someone to come in, buy a sandwich, and then kind of leave. And that's obviously what you want to offer. But one of the issues is that if you are that kind of business, or for instance, you're a florist where actually you want people to come in, buy a wonderful bouquet of flowers for a loved one, for a birthday or a gift or whatever. The challenge always is that as a business owner, you want to offer people a great selection because you think that is what people want, and they'll come in. But actually what they often want is just great flowers that they can give someone as a kind of gift. But the issue is, if you have 10 different products or 50 different products or variations of products or types of flowers or whichever, the issue is you've got to actually hold stock for all of those on the off chance that someone comes in and they want to buy that product. But on two different levels, basically, when you have products which are down this end, what you've then got, you've got stock tied up and you've got cash tied up in stock that you probably won't sell. But the other side to it as well, it could go off, it could actually perish. And one of the things that people often miss is actually, if as your core business, you're actually much better on just focusing on your core key products, which actually in this instance, I'm going to switch pens. I'll go for red. No, I'll go orange. Is that you would be better off focusing on your core products that you get your core sales from. Hold less stock, because actually the less stock and things that you have to handle, you have less cash tied up, so that's cash that you can reinvest in other parts of the business. But actually, you need less storage to hold less stuff. As well, for that, you would need more storage. But this then plays into your overheads. It plays into everything about your kind of business. That actually often you combine these two. You offer someone a simpler product choice, so you'll actually convert, I think, more sales. So that's somewhere, or up to 6. So not up to 6 kind of products. This is on anything where, you know, there's almost like an impulse buy type thing. This wouldn't necessarily apply to all the different configurations of your product. What you're trying to do is just take someone along the journey to kind of get along this. So actually what you've got is a double win, that you'll actually convert more sales through having a more simplified product offering. And this can just be how you present the offer. You can still have the extra products, just don't swamp people with them up front. But actually hold less stock, it'll be more profitable, it's less likely to go off, and you'll run a much leaner, better business if you have the confidence to actually go this route. And actually the truth is, in the florist example, people actually just want wonderful flowers to give their guests or their family or their wife or their partner or whichever. Many of them actually won't necessarily care what they are, obviously, you know, apart from some instances. So actually you can just steer them towards the stock that you have in, which again has multiple benefits as well. So it was just something I wanted to talk about, that most people, when they set up their business or they want to set up a food stall or whichever, they don't always think about stock and both, you know, having cash tied up, the fact that these things can go off. The other thing as well is through staff training, is that if you were to educate your sales staff or even your florist or your chef or whichever to make all these different things, it's going to take a lot more time to train, but also you're not going to be as good. If you focus on a few key dishes, you'll be able to make them better than if you kind of try and do everything. Does that make sense? And it was just, especially for SMEs, kind of wanted to kind of talk this through. Good morning. So I've seen the chats come in. Good morning, Bernard. From New York as well. Thank you for joining the Europe early. From joining the blockchain event last week. And then Matt, as always. Morning, Steve. Can you talk about timeframes within the MBA roadmap? What would be normal time frame to which to finish this? Does it offer core management skills? Hope you're well. Keep being amazing. Okay, Matt. I love how every week you ask me a different question. So within chapter 13 is leadership and management. That on the course, I'm pretty sure it's 39 pages, which is the back. And what's interesting is, for most people, again, what I tried to do is create a generalist business course that is applicable to 90% of people. So that when I kind of drew out before about the mountain, your career path, yeah, your people at the top that are your very well-known entrepreneurs that have got 20 years experience, etc. Yes, they can go, or they can look for really specialist courses or go to Harvard to do an MBA or whichever. But actually the bulk of people that work in your kind of business, you know, need generalist skills to help them make that improvement. That actually that's what I kind of look to offer with the course, that it's trying to make it easy as well. So from me at page 174 up until basically 200, what we do is we talk about the core management skills to really help people get more out of their team. Because this is the classic thing, is that you can't teach on a course, which is obviously public and open, how to do everyone's particular job. But what you can do is teach and work on how to help improve and upskill people. I've got people on the course that just basically, they don't come to any sessions, they just have the textbook and use it as notes to reference to and actually just implement in their own time, in which case it takes no time at all. Then I have people that come to every session, even the double up on every double Tuesday, just to learn and do different things. And the whole point is that you can either take as much or as little time as you wish on stuff. That actually, you know, that's cool. And the same as personal development as well, is that, you know, you can actually, you know, if you want to just allocate, well, no time a week to it, just 10 minutes, or even just to join the sessions, you more than can do. And the idea is that we teach and share knowledge and skills and tools that you can use in your business to help kind of do that. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. And it's that balance of where inherently people that put more effort in will probably be more successful. And that is true with fitness or, to be honest, anything. But actually it's purposely designed to help people along that path. But I do appreciate your comments every week because they always seem to be different. But I'm pretty sure you have a copy of the book, which will hopefully kind of do it. And then, you know, one good way to test it is just join some of our classroom sessions. There's a really good crowd. Some of the people you'll know, some of the people you won't. And we talk through different topics. But again, if it's not for you, that's no big deal. You can, again, just pick and choose the different stuff. And again, different people at different points in their career. There might be people within your various businesses that actually have no interest in sales and marketing or strategy, but they just want to focus on the management module. So what they could do is just, you know, just join for those kind of things and practice those skills, because actually I think you'll still get a big uplift in their teams and their ability to motivate their teams with those kind of things. And actually what, you know, across the 39 pages of that module, there's probably 30 odd books worth of knowledge and reading in there, plus a lot of the experience from the past, that actually saves them probably a year of reading all these books that they're probably not going to read anyway. And the whole point is just trying to make it easy and accessible. I hope that answered your question. If it doesn't, just tell me. But it's that kind of thing of just trying to share skills and best practice and knowledge that people do and use just to help people upskill their teams. And again, a great example is on Tuesday. Oh, I forgot what page it's on. It's at the end of module 6. What we do is talk about how basically it's best practice. So when COVID happened, there's a big major consultancy called Bain, and these are people that you pay £2,000 a day to hire on stuff. You know, mega expensive kind of consultancies, but a big global kind of group. And they did a big report on best practice that companies should do. And what I did was took it, distilled it down, but really made it applicable to SMEs. And something that we ran through last week in the course was actually went through all the points just to share the ideas of things that you could consider to implement within your business. And it's all kind of known, proven stuff, that it's not just me coming up with it. I'm taking knowledge from around the world and trying to make it applicable to help LB Shipping or whoever really kind of make that next step. And it's that, I don't know, cohesion of resource and actually kind of collating it all and bringing it all together and making it make sense is what I do and what I try and do every week. And then every book I read, if I think it's good, I bring it together. And then it's that kind of process as well. Matt, I'm really sorry. Drop me a private DM. I was sure you did. Drop me a private DM and I'll send you a pack in the post to your very posh Wynyard address. But no, I'm sorry about that. I thought you did, but my bad. Cool, so I'm going to get a quick sip of water. What time are we on? We're 9:28. And then I'm going to jump onto basically the last one for today, which is also with terrible sales pitches, when I've seen them basically go wrong. And this is just to give people a heads up on what I believe are the things to consider when you get the opportunity, if you get the opportunity to really kind of promote your product or service. There we go. But no, yeah, so please comment about where you're from in the world, and just kind of, I love it when people chat, because it just makes this a lot more interesting for me, that likewise I can respond to comments and bounce off you and that kind of thing as well. Cool, so terrible sales. So I'm sure we've all been there, where you've had the chance to be on a Zoom call or a networking meeting or wherever, and there's a sponsor, and that sponsor basically has the opportunity, to kind of pitch their product or service. And, truth be told, at the Startup Grind X event last night, I got the chance to do that as well for the roadmap. But there's good ways to do it and there's bad ways to do it. One of the things that I saw, and this is true almost, if you put yourself as a person, I think people often forget that when they present, it's imagining that there are people sat there in person watching your stuff. And it's when people are just really arrogant about, imagine you're talking to someone and you're on a first date and you're like, I'm the best, I have this much money in the bank, I have these many clients, I drive this car, this is my career history, look how good I am, da, da, da. You're going to think they're a prick. You're going to absolutely hate and despise that guy or girl, because actually it's not a very nice way to do it. It's not great sales. It's not a great way to build relationships. And I think one of the things that people often forget is that actually they don't really think about the audience. They don't treat people as real people, and they don't really think about what is it that they want to get across. So the first one as well is when people have no humility. Yes, you might have a great product or service, And yes, you can almost tell people about it, but don't go on too much about what your market cap is and how big the deals are and stuff. Relate it to the audience. Otherwise, yeah, last thing you want to do is lose the audience. And I must say, there's nothing worse. And the one that I was on was a networking event. There's probably 80 people on the call. It was an accountancy practice, had kind of sponsored it. And when they were talking about all these great deals that they'd done and stuff, the one thing that really got me was that they were almost treating it as if it was like a sport. So, we did this, and then if we can't find a buyer, we'll just sell it to someone else. But the thing that got me in the audience was almost the fact that, yeah, but that's someone's business. That is someone, they put their heart and soul into that. And it just kind of lost me that almost it was the kind of braggy nature that you might see guys do down in the pub or whatever. But actually, it's not great. So it's not great sales. But the one thing you want to do, so you don't want to do that. What you do want to do you really want to highlight the pain points that you solve. So in the process of doing your pitch or whichever, say, look, we offer, I'll take the business course. So the Roadmap MBA offers real world business skills to people that want to develop their business or career and actually don't have the time, money, cash, or access to do the other methods which are also available. That's one way you could pitch it. But the idea is the more you can actually identify and articulate the pain point that you solve and how you solve it, what that does, it communicates to the audience on the end of the call if they fall into that box or they don't. And I think it's really important that, for instance, if you are, I'm trying to think of a good example, I'll take a McDonald's. McDonald's offer convenient food where you know what you're going to get. Yes, it's not the healthiest, but actually it's almost kind of comfort food and it's, whatever. But they know what that is and they just own it and they embrace it with their material, that they make that relevant to their audience, which is different to other places. But actually, you really want to know what the pain point is that you solve and really kind of get that out there. The next one, you really want to go, if you can, articulate who your product or service is for. Again, everyone has a niche that they have a key target audience who are perfect to buy what they need to sell. I'm going to think back to a previous guest, which was Tim Ward on Opportunity, who they help people bid on public sector tenders. So he is for SME companies or companies of any size that want to bid on public sector tenders but don't have the time or resource to either employ a bid writer full time. Yeah, pretty much that's it. But through saying that as part of their pitch, what it does, if you're in the audience and you're like, actually, I'd like to bid on more public sector tenders and I don't really have time to trawl through all these websites. What he's done is make the audience think, yeah, my product or service is relevant to this. But actually, it's these kind of things just to kind of add up. My water bottle is in the way. The next thing you want to do is demonstrate knowledge. So something we talk about in the course is the desire to be seen as an authority or an expert on a topic. Going back to the accountancy example, it's fine for the guy to just say, yeah, we did these 27 deals and they were worth £100 million and it was great and we made all this money and made people rich. But that doesn't actually win you over or give you confidence that this person is an expert. If they talk about the detail and build confidence and demonstrate that they are an authority and an expert on deals and how they're done and how to get value to the buyer and how to maximize value and how to make the process quicker and less painful and stuff, that is how you really kind of win over your audience. But actually, the other thing that you want to do, I'm going to switch pens. You want to always have a call to action. That almost anything that you do in terms of a live stream or whichever, it's the ability to say, actually, look, this is the web address. If you want to get in touch, my name's Steve. I have it scroll across constantly in every interview. Actually, no, I don't do it in the interviews, but I do it for live streams, just about the socials and stuff. But the idea is that you just have the ways that people can get in touch with you, or for instance, when it pops up in someone's feed, but you always want to include a call to action. And then last but not least, you just want to add value. The single best way to help win someone over, if you have an audience that actually, last night's event on blockchain, the more you can kind of just show knowledge on a topic, but actually give people value and show them what they want to know and learn, it will really help win them over. So for instance, I took two things. One was actually using there's a Star Wars analogy from that same Resonate book where how everyone has their own hero's journey. So I took the whole Luke Skywalker, basically first Star Wars film, and analogized it to startup founders and the challenges that they faced. So I did 2 minutes on that, then actually went through the three main things which a lot of startup founders get wrong to really focus on. But the idea was within that 5 minutes was to add value, to make these people think, actually, have we thought about the strategy about what we do? Is it as good as it could be? And then likewise to also think, if you want your startup or business to be successful, often the founder or the CEO or whoever is very knowledgeable on stuff. So they might not need training, but what about their team, which actually drives the main core of the business? And then last but not least, about executing. So it's almost having the confidence that, for me, yes, you can go on a great sales training thing for one day, but actually you want the 12 months of support. It's the ability to react and interact with people just to get that repetition. And also when things don't work, you can ask questions and stuff. That actually it's then how you execute against your plan and the three things that people get wrong. But the idea was just to demonstrate that actually these are things to consider. If you'd like to find out more, this is how you can do it. And it was just a different way to pitch your product or service, that you don't actually have to brag that you're in so many countries and you have so many million users and your market cap is this and you're valued at that. And it's just a different way to kind of build relationships. And for me personally, because it is kind of just me doing this, is that, I try and give this honest approach that every week, twice a week, I kind of put myself out there, that it is for some people, it's not for others. And I just kind of do my best. But again, just as a way to build your sales pitch, these are things to think about. So you really want to show humility in what you do, demonstrate the pain point, actually just identify what it is and how you solve it for a customer. Who is your ideal dream customer that people want to buy your product or service? And that just means that anyone in the audience that falls into that gap will listen more, because you've said, actually, say for me, it's probably people from 22 to 40 who want to develop their businesses or careers, but they can't afford a traditional course and they just want to make that next step and have confidence in what they do. That's kind of who I aim for. Although I might sell to a lot of business owners who are, outside of that demographic, they largely would buy it to train up their team and not for themselves. But this is all just part of your own kind of journey. I'm going to quickly jump back to the comments. Jonathan Park. Sorry, Mr. Starr, I'll catch you after, stuck on a technical call. Good morning, Steve. Hi, Jonathan. No worries at all. I don't mind if people do or don't join, that's cool as well. It's just for me, I made the commitment to myself to kind of try and do these every week. I try and talk about different topics, and it's just to basically just plant some ideas about different things that people can kind of do. And again, part of the reason for doing that is that I try and approach everything as an engineer. So I'm still a chartered mechanical engineer. I am good at problem solving, but actually taking that mindset to, in this case, business problems and just the ways to solve things. I almost treat most things as almost a business problem or a science problem, in the way that you find the tools and the ways to solve it, and then just common sense, just implement against them. But I think that almost engineering and scientific approach to stuff and problem solving is what I apply to business, which just hopefully makes us a little bit different to other kind of stuff too. What time are we on? So we're on 9:39. I think I'm going to call it quits there. Thank you to anyone that tuned in. Please feel free to drop me a message anytime. I still have the questions it's on this side, questions@roadmapmba.com. 24 hours a day, you can send me anything you want to know or learn. And then what I also tend to do is just watch what happens throughout the week, talk about interesting case studies as we all start to kind of, recover from COVID and how things kind of change and stuff, or anything interesting. And then actually just pull up some real world examples from my own life or the classroom sessions or whichever, which hopefully you might find interesting as well. So no, thank you for your time. It's a pleasure as always. If you've got any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. My name's Steve, and I'll hopefully speak to you all soon. All right, cheers guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Bye.